Good evening to everyone. Ms. Shirani De Silva, Ms. Balachandran, Rajanathan, partners of Kreston's, my colleagues. It's indeed a pleasure for me to be here. That I share a few words on what I learned at Kreston's. My mind goes back, actually, you won't believe it, it's 50 years. One of my colleagues is seated here, Amit Avevodha. Amit, you might remember, 2nd of January 1975, we walked up the stairs, maybe 2 flights to AMW Winding with our fathers who had accompanied us. We were just straight out of school. And from there, our journey began. Kreston's gave us a great opportunity to learn things. I thought I'd share three little stories with you, which fundamental, simple things, but which helped us build our career and learn to be good accountants. At that time, to the early days of plastic and making plastic bottles and so on. Mind you, this was that period 1970 to 77, is 75. Plastic pellets, and they were making plastic bottles. I was sent to this audit, which was in Colonnava, as I remember, can't remember the name of the company. And my senior would rarely come to work for some reason, and I was there as a junior. So he said, "You do the bank reconciliations." So I did, kept doing one month after month after month. But the important thing was I was really struggling with it, and I just couldn't figure out what to do. And then, thumbing through the records and all that, I found what the fundamental error that I made. It was that I was taking the cash book balance and trying to reconcile it. But I didn't look to see whether the cash book was really written up and up to date. So what I realized later and learned from there was, if the primary records are not fully updated, whether you do an inventory reconciliation, whether you do a bank reconciliation, whatever you do, you're not going to get your information right. So they're very basic, but I must say that took me a long way in my career. The second lesson was, yes, there was a nice industry, again, very early days, and many of you would have not heard. The apparel industry had just started, but this was making socks, and there were quotas. So each company used to get a quota to import, and they had, of course, orders for the local market, or I don't think there were exports at that time. So what happened was, we found the previous year's GP margin was very high, and suddenly in the current year the GP margin was very low, and we couldn't figure out what had happened. So then, having trying to go into this, I was by that time a semi-senior, and with my junior, we go into all sorts of records. And when going to the inventories, we found that there had been some inventory which had been moved out. Then, when we asked the storekeeper, we found that because there were quotas, the manufacturers were helping each other. If I had inventory, having got it from a quota, and somebody else had an order but didn't have inventory of that item, we would lend it to them. So therefore, but of course, they charged everything to cost of sales. So sometimes the cost of sales went up, and therefore margin was lower. And some years when they got it back, it reversed. So we realized that the importance of GP margins, and that helped me throughout my career, I would say. The third was again a very interesting. I don't know whether it was endemic to. They were experienced seniors, and I had the privilege of working with one of them. It was a spare part shop in Panchigavatta, so it was quite an experience. We were still wearing white longs. We didn't have much clothes. I don't think people wear school clothes now to their workplace. And I found that the voucher and the supporting documents didn't tie up. So I said, "Now, this problem, what do I do?" He said, "Voucher cancel tick." I said, "What is that?" So a vouching tick is really a V, two circles. So I said, "That's," but take another few items and check it. So it looked strange to me initially, but when I later matured in my career and thought about it, when you have a something which doesn't, it's exception, you extend your sample. And today you use a lot of statistics in your sampling, normal curves and so on. But that was a simple example of saying, if you have an error, extend your sample and see whether there is a one-off or there is some systemic error in it. So there was lots of wonderful times we had, a lot of fun, a lot of learnings, and those foundations took us through many years that we've now retired and trying to relax and enjoy life. So may I take this opportunity to thank Mr. Rajanathan for organizing this event, congratulate Krestons for the progress they've made, and wish them well in the years to come all the very best. Thank you very much for inviting us.